Well, first things first, let's take a look at the handover that's coming in from the US. Shreyanshi, sharp declines on the Wall Street overnight.
Well, absolutely, Kanishka. That just about sums it up. You do have a lot of moving parts to that entire puzzle when it comes to the tariff front. We've seen a lot of headlines coming in. Of course, you do have that sharp sell-off, like you just mentioned. Dow dropped more than 970 points. That's the kind of sell-off that you saw coming in for the Dow Jones index as well as S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite, because both of these indices also slid more than 2%. Monday, in fact, also marked the fourth straight losing session when it comes to Dow as well as the Nasdaq. So that's the kind of move that you saw coming in. You do have futures at this point tied to the Dow Jones as well as S&P 500 and Nasdaq that are gaining at this point. But in terms of the regular trading session, you did see that sell-off coming in. You do have investors that are increasingly uncertain when it comes to Trump posting on Truth Social that the economy would slow. That is something that is definitely rattling the markets, and you did see that reflected when it comes to all three of those indices. Now, in terms of the start to the week, of course, this was a very weak start to the week. So let's see if this sort of momentum is something that we see a continuation of. You do have Trump also hinting at Powell's termination. There is that entire war of words. So there's a whole host of factors when it comes to all of this. There's already a turbulent period for stocks when this sell-off is something that you're seeing, because you do have Trump's initial announcement as well of reciprocal tariffs. That has already rocked financial markets, and on the back of that, you do have all three major indices that have tumbled more than 9% since Trump first unveiled his plans for the levies on April 2nd. So that's the kind of move that you're seeing, at least as far as the Wall Street is concerned.
Well, absolutely. Fourth straight consecutive session of declines for US stocks. Now, moving on, let's also get you a crude check quickly. Oil has fallen more than 2% in signs of progress in US-Iran talks amid more market stress. Now, Brent crude futures slipped $1.70 or 2.5% to close at $66 a barrel, whereas the US WTI settled at $63 a barrel, down $1.60 or 2.5% on Monday. Now, in terms of talks, the US and Iran have agreed to begin drawing up a framework for a potential nuclear deal. That's what Iran's foreign minister said. This is after discussions that a US official described as yielding very good progress. Now, this progress follows further sanctions by the US last week against a Chinese independent oil refinery that it alleges processed Iranian crude is ramping up pressure on Tehran. Now, markets also came under stress yesterday after US President Donald Trump last week made criticism about the Federal Reserve, as you rightly mentioned earlier. Now, gold prices rose to another record, with jitters rippling into energy markets due to concerns about demand. That's as per the analysts. That's what the analysts have been saying. Now, speaking of gold, the yellow metal prices have reached past $3,400, hitting a new record, as President Donald Trump's threats against Federal Reserve's independence and his tariffs shake investor confidence in the US economy. Now, gold futures jumped almost 3% to close at $3,425 per ounce. Now, this is with investors buying the precious metal as the dollar hit a 3-year low. Now, gold has jumped about 30% since the start of this year and about 8% since Trump unveiled those sweeping tariffs on April 2nd.